561-319-5533 or Tom at TrentoVision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and TrentoVision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
Yes, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, even all the little people in here and everybody everywhere. Good afternoon, Tom Trento, your host on TrentoVision.tv, as Duff just said.
That's right.
In the lead-in, that's the Duff voice. He does a good job.
The founder of Duff Beer.
Yes, Duff Beer for The Simpsons. We're here for 3 hours, so get yourself settled in if you're watching in your living rooms or listening as you're driving on a 3-hour trip. In fact, if you don't drive too quickly, let me see, just about right. Our signal, 50,000 watts, goes from North Miami all the way through Fort Pierce, out on the Turnpike, up to Kissimmee. So just about a 3-hour ride. So if you want to get in your car right now and start in Miami and go up north, you can do that and hang with us for the next 3 informative, educational hours where we're going to touch your head, get inside your heart a little bit, but activate your feet. As you know, this radio effort on our part, this communication command and control center for the United West, is designed to activate people to impact society in a positive way, change the way people think, change public policy, return back to the roots of those documents, the Declaration, the Constitution, all based in a context. If you go online at the United West, read our mission statement. All of our work is based in the context of a Judeo-Christian worldview. Very important. And we believe in the exceptionalism of the United States of America and the necessity of America to stand with Israel. In fact, Mark, we're going to do a video next week where the short little piece, and it's going to be, everybody has in their mind that we think Israel needs America. Mm-hmm. I'm going to argue that America needs Israel. 2 primary points. I'll tell you about that next week. But right now, for the next 3 hours, we have a full block of information. This first hour, we have a friend of ours who's an analyst, an attorney. He's coming in from Israel via the phone, Ted Bellman. And Ted runs a fascinating blog, Isra Pundit.
Oh, that's who it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Great
He's
blog.
he's a phenomenal writer and analyst. He'll be here in a little while. And then in the second hour, we have in studio a local rabbi, Rabbi Eli Kavon, who is at Beth Ami Synagogue, where Boca Bevi is,
right.
our good friend.
We actually
Boca
kidnapped him and drug him in here.
He's in studio, so you will see him in his glory, in his shining glory. And with both Ted and the rabbi, we view these as brave Jewish people in a world that's frightened nowadays. So we're going to discuss some of the global issues out there that are so relevant and impact everybody living in Boca Raton, in Chicago, in New York, in Phoenix, all over the United States. These issues impact people because what's happening in the Middle East is not only a trigger for what will occur in the United States as it relates to the Islamic Jihad, but it's going to affect the economy of the United States. And possibly we have Syria aiming and Iran aiming serious missiles loaded with chemical weapons. And Mark went through the analysis of what sarin gas and VX does, aimed at Tel Aviv. and the rationale is unbelievable. Bashar Assad, the president of Syria, is going down. He's going to have to escape to Cuba or Mexico or one of these places. And the thinking is wherever he goes, he's going to be eventually killed and have no legacy. But if he can take Tel Aviv out in his final swan song, he will be viewed as a martyr throughout the Islamic world. So this is the way the jihad mind works, and we're going to be dealing with these issues in the first hour, second hour. Also in the second hour, we're coming up to Hanukkah. And as many of you know, I'm a Christian, and Hanukkah is a Jewish celebration. But as a Christian,
Is it like Kwanzaa?
it's just like Kwanzaa. Yeah, it's a couple of guys a couple of years ago said, let's make up a religion, a holiday.
Yeah, right, okay.
And they made up Kwanzaa. Now, this one's a little different. This is rooted in history and theology and the nation of Israel. But there's applications that can be drawn today from the Maccabee family in terms of their commitment, their faith, their dedication, and their willingness to fight the battles. Those applications are critically important in the context of the globe today. So, plus, we're going to get, because the rabbi's here, we're going to get 8 gifts, one every day.
That's right.
Yeah. We're going to get on his list.
We get pencils and paper clips and all the traditional.
The way to look at it, Hanukkah's like, the rabbi's like Santa Claus for Jewish people.
Right.
You get 8 gifts, you get something like that.
When I was back in high school, I knew nothing about Hanukkah, and I said, well, you guys get like 8 gifts, all the time, and you guys like have 8 days of Christmas. And he goes, no, it's not like that at all.
They get little gifts. But in any event, Tom Trento here on WNN 1470 with a disembodied voice who's embodied this week.
Am I embodied now? Oh, I am.
Mark's
embodied.
usually in that chair and not on camera. CJ, I don't think, you met CJ the other day.
Yeah.
CJ is here, but our best wishes for her. Still a little under the weather with a little cold, a little bad cold. So, but she will be fine and back next week in action. And we have Invisible Mike. What's up, Mike?
What's going on?
How are you? Good. We've got our flags flying highly there.
Flying high.
We don't hide what we do, but we invite you to participate with us. If you'd like to call in, make a comment or whatever, or give us some gifts, that's fine. 888-565-1470. 888-565-1470. You can call in and you can speak with us or say something or share a thought, whatever you want. But before we get going on the global issues, guy by the name of Christopher Lance Moore had a bad day yesterday.
What happened with Christopher?
Christopher was in a little town of Springtown, northwest of Fort Worth, and Christopher Lance Moore, 41 years old, decided to break into a home. So he broke into a home, and he was downstairs scurrying around looking to rob things, had a dark hoodie on, and the homeowner, James Garrow, upstairs, heard something downstairs. This is in Texas now. What do you think the homeowner had? Take a wild guess. What do you think the Texas homeowner had?
He had a BB gun.
Yes, he had a what's that thing called? A slingshot. He had an automatic slingshot. He got his gun, and as he started coming down the stairs, the thief, Christopher Lance Moore, 41 years old, ran out to his pickup truck. Well, James Garrow chased him out to his pickup truck, put a gun on him, and said, "You're not going any place. Throw your keys on the ground." So he threw his keys on the ground, and what do you think the crook did next?
I had no idea.
He got his cell phone and he dialed 911. He did. He dialed 911, and listen to what he said. He called the cops. And he said, what is it? He said, somebody's holding, I'm out in the country somewhere, and some guy's got a gun on me,
Okay.
He said on the call. And they said, what? He goes, I'm out in the country, and a guy's got a gun. So they immediately sent a car there. The deputies arrived and arrested Moore for burglary of a habitation, second-degree felony. When they were questioning Moore, now Garrow, the homeowner, is he? Well, we'll see what that sounds like, and then can you test it there while we're on? Yeah, just test it. Hang on, we're testing something on the air here.
Ted.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh,
That's good.
That's
Yeah,
good.
that's good.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's good.
All right, that'll be fine.
No video though.
Back to Texas.
Okay.
That's okay. back to Texas. When the cops arrived, they arrested Mr. Moore, Christopher Moore, 41 years old, and the homeowner gave him a couple of chances. I mean, he could have
actually
gotten a
video of
scuffle and shot him, but he decided not to do that. And then when the cops questioned the crook, he said, "I had very bad intentions. You know, he was going to hurt the family." And Mr. Guerrero said, "Oh, I gave him a second chance." He says, "If I would have known he had bad intentions, he wouldn't have gotten his second chance. You threatened me and my family, that's a different ballgame." So what's the moral of the story? Don't rob any homes in Texas, okay? You know, go to somewhere else and just don't rob any homes. How about that? But the economic issues, people feel they're pressed to do things. They want to rob from other people. It's the kind of world we live in. And that's on a micro scale. On a macro scale, people want to take stuff from other people. They want to take their country. They want to take their land. They want to do all of this. And we have some of these global issues. And with us right now is an expert who can help us sift through some of the global issues as it relates to Israel. Oh, you're going to need those things. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll get it. Don't worry about it.
All right. Everybody can hear him, right?
Yeah.
All right, Ted, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. We're duct taping our equipment together today on TrentoVision.tv to get you in on you're just on the audio. I don't believe we have a video of you on Skype, right? No, we don't.
Yeah.
But we will put your picture up. And
Connection problems over in Israel today.
okay, no problem. We will make it work no matter what. But as you know, Ted, and I'll just set the scene for our listeners and our viewers. It's 77 degrees in here. It's warm. Joe, what are you doing? Put the air conditioner on, man.
Well, it's cloudy and 76 outside.
Oh, so we should open the windows, but they don't
I'm
open.
open, right?
That's okay. Ted, welcome to Trento Vision. You're with myself, J. Mark Campbell, Rabbi Kavone, and Invisible Mike. Good to have you with us. How have you been?
I've been fine, and it's a pleasure to be with you and speaking to your American audience.
Excellent. We followed your work for a long time, and we're gonna see if the connection hangs. If it doesn't, what we'll do is have you call in on the phone line and just pick you up through the studio line. So, because it may be starting to crumble. But let me set the stage for what we're going to do with you. And if our audience would like to speak with you, Ted Bellman, the founder, editor of Israel Pundit, a very effective and analytical blog that stays on the top of all things happening with Israel worldwide. Just a few days ago, we had a wonderful building on First Avenue and 41st Street or so in New York City. Have 193 nations assemble, 139 of them. Some of them, no one would even know, if you put their name in a drawing and said, "What is this?" Well, you can have $50 million. They would have no idea that this is the name of a country. But 139 of these countries voted to make Palestine a state. Basically, it was a intermediate honorary statehood. Actually, it was an observer status, but it was elevated to honorary statehood. In terms of the minds of the Palestinians, they got the golden ring in the carousel, and 41 nations abstained. 41 nations said, we can't figure out if we want to vote for this or not. And just nine. And of the nine, several were just tiny little nations, voted against the measure, against the effort to make whatever Palestine is. I mean, is it the West Bank? Is it Gaza, East Jerusalem? Is it all the same? Well, we're going to get all answers to that. So, Ted, we want to talk about the UN. We want to talk about the Gaza war. What's going on in Egypt right now? What's happening? Ted, how do you live in Israel? How do you live in Israel? How does this happen? Talk to us.
What do you want me to talk about first?
How does a person live in a country that's surrounded by enemies, and now they're starting to point gigantic weapons at you? How do you go about your everyday life?
We call it the eye of the storm. Here, it's very calm. Nobody's worried. Everybody's having a good time. Hanukkah's starting tomorrow night, and it's a mad world, but we're okay. We're okay. We trust the IDF.
You trust the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force.
Yeah, they've got a very high approval rating in the country, and they do a great job. They're extremely professional, and their intelligence, without exception, is the best in the world. These things are all very important. So here in Israel, we're okay. I've gotten over the fact that we didn't invade Gaza. That was a bit of a disappointment because essentially Israelis want to finally do away with Hamas. They don't want to have to live with them as a thorn in their side, and every once in a while when Hamas wants, they start firing off hundreds and thousands of rockets. So, but my feeling was that you have to pick your battles and pick your time. Our focus primarily now is on Iran, and we don't want another major war when we're getting ready for Iran.
Well,
that's
hey, Ted.
dealt with later.
All right, Ted, let's do this. Let's set the stage a little bit for our viewers, our listeners. Your background. Tell everybody what you've done in your life, and particularly over the past couple of years, and how you started your publication.
Well, I grew up in Canada, in Toronto, and I was a snowbird coming down to sunny Florida. And I practiced law for 20 years, and I had a business, and I ended up retiring early because I sold out my business, and I was too old to get a job. So I started doing my blog, Israel Pundit, and I got so into it and found it so fascinating what was going on, and so fearful for the Jewish people and for Israel. I ultimately decided to make Aliyah, which is the expression for going to Israel, and it's been wonderful here. And I think one of the reasons I did it, I wanted an adventure. I was at that point in my life, there was nothing to look forward to. But going to Israel, starting a whole new life, that turned me on, and I'm really happy to be here in Jerusalem, capital of Israel.
Is that where you're?
Undivided Jerusalem, I should say.
Yeah, not quite. Are you? Where are you calling from? You don't have to give us a specific area, but the general area.
No, I'm in Jerusalem.
Oh, you're in the
That's
Jerusalem
where I
area.
live.
Okay. And how many years ago did you decide? What year did you decide to do Aliyah?
Well,
go back to Israel.
3.5 years ago, I came here, and I've been doing the blog for 10 years, and it's virtually a full-time job because you have to read everything in sight to know what's going on, be able to express an opinion. So it's an enormous amount of work, keeping up, learning history, and knowing what is happening. And I enjoy it, so that's basically it.
All right, wait. Mark, one of our guys in here, has a question for you, Mark. We have somebody on hold, and Rabbi, if you have any questions too, we'll throw you in. Mark, say hello to Ted and ask your question.
Hey, Ted, how you doing?
Hi.
With Syria aiming chemical weapons at Israel, what is the mood? What is the attitude over in Israel right now, as far as the people are concerned and you are concerned?
Well, I'm not sure that they're aiming chemical weapons at Israel. I think the first use of those weapons are going to be to suppress the rebels. But as the Qatar, or Qatar, if you will, Saudi Arabia, France, or probably Turkey or the United States, they're getting ready to make a big difference here. They just put Patriot missiles in Turkey, which ostensibly was to defend Turkey, but these Patriot missiles are so close to the border, they create a no-fly zone in Syria. And they can shoot down planes and whatever over Syria. And one other thing of great interest happened. You'll recall a number of years ago, Israel bombed the nuclear plant that Assad has, where he was trying to develop a bomb.
Right.
And their radar didn't pick up the Israeli planes that knocked it out. They hardly knew it happened.
Right.
And Russia came in and gave them a state-of-the-art radar in southern Syria that was on a high plane, and that radar could see any plane in Israel as far down to Eilat taking off. And at a huge range, including Saudi Arabia, was within range. And a few weeks ago, the reports came out that that radar station was destroyed.
Well, Ted, yeah, I actually worked on the Patriot missile defense system back when.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we actually made them over at we called it the Bomb Factory in Martin Marietta in Orlando. They're made in Orlando, and
The Patriot missiles are made in Orlando.
yeah, they
Next
actually
to Disney World. That's
actually
pretty
on
cool.
Sand Lake Road yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
pretty
so,
interesting.
and that's where they're actually made in well, the assembly happens there. I mean, they're made from all different parts of the country, but the assembly happens
They've
there.
never been used in a war yet, have they?
Yes, they have. They have used quite extensively on the Scud missiles during the.
Well, they're being used, that's right. That's
91.
Yeah, and they actually, that's when they were first tested, and they have, and I question these figures. They said they were 90% effective, and that was kind of a joke running around Martin Marietta at the time that they're 90% effective. Because most of the Scud missiles that actually flew over there just went into the ground, and whenever it didn't actually hit any targets, they claimed it as a kill. So, but let's take that 90% figure as accurate, which it's not.
That's 20 years ago, don't
That's
forget.
20 years ago, but still, you're going to. There's no way a missile. It's the logic of a missile defense system to protect you, as far as if one of these sarin gas tipped rockets gets through, the amount of devastation that would happen. I mean, I was reading the other day about the effects of sarin, of VX gas, and sarin is just a lesser form of VX, and it's a very gruesome death. And if you look at the pictures where Saddam Hussein actually did them and killed 30,000 of his own troops, his own people, I cannot imagine Israel letting something like that get through at all, or even have the chance of getting through. I mean,
Well, there's no question that everything's heating up and you don't really know what's going on, but essentially there's cooperation between Turkey, Israel, and Qatar, where and America, for that matter. I think the aircraft carrier Eisenhower is in the Eastern Mediterranean, and very soon I wouldn't be surprised to see an aerial attack on all the weapons, the WMD depots in Syria.
well, yeah, if they start launching if Assad decides to launch it on his own people, and he will launch them on his own people, which he actually thinks of them as human.
Well,
You have no qualms about launching them on Israel, which he thinks are bugs and ants.
Get rid of them, whether he uses them or not. Because look what happened in Libya. All the weapons ended up being available to all these rebels. We haven't seen the last of that. And even if Assad falls, there's no way we want Al-Qaeda and all the different rebels and Hezbollah is supposed to be guarding the bloody... So, to my mind, this is very important that I think you're going to see Israel, with the support of the States and Turkey, take out the weapons depots.
Yeah, well, Ted, here's what we're going to do. I got to take a little short break here, and then we're going to bring Stuart on right after we mention a few of our sponsors. And these are individuals that our listeners and viewers should go and use their services. And obviously, we've been talking about Peter Feynman, our very good friend Peter Feynman. He's an attorney, Palm Beach attorney, 30 years. He was elected by every county in the state of Florida, all 67, to be the national committeeman to the Republican Party. So he has a political background. He's written 2 books on Islamic Jihad, one called Wake Up America, trying to wake America up to the Islamic Jihad threat. Then most recently, this past year, he wrote The Next Nightmare. The Next Nightmare is the fusion of the, you can put up some of the slides for this, the Peter Feynman stuff, the fusion of the Muslim Brotherhood, with the hard left in the United States in sort of a stew of multiculturalism. And Peter Feynman's thesis of that book, The Next Nightmare, is that it could be the end of America if patriotic people with a conservative view on life don't fight for the principles important in America. He does all that stuff on the side, folks. He's an attorney by day, 30 years, great business attorney. In our work, sometimes we get in situations where we need an attorney, and Peter has served us well, has been a litigator for us when we were the plaintiffs. If we're defendants, he is in a position to defend us. So we recommend very highly, if you're in Palm Beach County or anywhere in the state of Florida, Peter Feynman, Feynman Law, F-E-A-M-A-N Law, FeynmanLaw.com. And then another local tool in terms of understanding the issues of the day from a political and from a cultural perspective is a website called BizPac, B-I-Z-P-A-C, BizPacReview.com. And up-to-date videos, information. They aggregate information. Look through, as Ted does, Ted Bellman. They look through tons of material, put it up, highlight something, send out information each day. Hundreds of thousands of viewers per month, based right here in Boca Raton, Florida. BizPac Review. Go visit them when you get a chance. And Tea Party, what are we doing? Tea Party Community?
Tea Party Community.
Yeah, tell them about that.
We actually opened up an association with Tea Party Community, and it's a teapartycommunity.com is actually a Tea Party Facebook interactive site where people can come. It's not just for Facebooking. There's actually a central location hub point where we're actually going to be distributing information of how to become active. So if you're a group of 4 or 5 people out there that want to get involved, want to get active, you don't have to be a part of a large group. Yet if you're on that 4 or 5 person activism list ideal, you get a story, you get an idea, and you want to get it to the mainstream media or major media, you have absolutely no access to do that. What we're doing, we're providing you that access to get you that story, because we have, phenomenal contacts, and if we get the story, we can actually put it out there where your story is not squashed or killed by the local media. So when you go to your community meetings, when you go to community school boards, it's a place to aggregate.
To connect, a place to connect and be with people of like mind, joining together to fight some of the issues that this administration is
it's an activist
forcing
website.
on people.
It's an activist website.
Perfectly. All right, we have Stuart on the line. Stuart, hello, Stuart. You're with Tom, Mark, and Ted from Israel. How are you, Stuart?
I'm okay, Tom. How are you guys?
Okay. Oh, this is you, Stuart. Okay.
Yes, it's that Stuart.
Okay.
That's Stuart.
Coming
Okay.
out of where are you coming out of today?
We don't have audio going to Ted.
We don't have what?
Audio going to Ted.
Okay. Oh,
I
okay.
can hear what's going on.
Oh, okay.
I didn't hear Stuart, though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Oh, right. All right, I'll repeat what Stuart says. All right, Stuart, how are you?
I'm doing great. I understand that Ted Bellman can't hear me, which is it's too
There
bad
you
because
go.
I.
Quiet.
Oh, okay.
We're hooking it up. We're hooking it up right now.
Hi, Ted.
Okay. Well, I'm
Hi,
a great
Ted.
admirer of his.
Yep. Hi.
I followed his stuff for a long time, and I forwarded to the entire universe of people with whom I correspond. So it's a great pleasure to talk to him. I'd like to address a question to him, if I may, Tom.
Sure.
Mr. Bellman, it's an old axiom that if you take the king's shilling, you have to follow the king's orders. And to that effect, I have for a long time believed that the Israeli government should tell the United States, and I being a United States patriot, by the way, but should tell the United States, thank you very much for the
We'll
money.
reiterate for you.
Okay, well, it should tell the United States, thank you very much for the money. You need it more than we do in Israel, but don't give us any more money. In that way, Netanyahu no longer has to take Obama's garbage. And I was wondering how Ted Bellman...
I'm not hearing clearly. It's
All right,
breaking up.
Ted, I'll repeat it. That's the question, Stuart?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It is 32 minutes past the hour on TrentoVision.tv. And on the radio side, we are at WNN 1470. And Stuart from somewhere in the United States of America. I think you're in Southern California. Yeah. I mean, South Carolina, right?
Yeah, Charleston.
Yeah. Stuart's a Long Island guy that retired, another attorney, good friend of ours. He's part of the United West. Heads up. What is all that? Ted, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
All right, Stuart's question is very simple. If you take the king's money, then you've got to do the king's bidding. Why doesn't Israel tell the United States, keep your $3 billion. You need it more. You, the United States, need the $3 billion. What is that noise? $3 billion more than we do. And at that point, Netanyahu is not connected in any fiscal way.
People who are anti-Israel keep complaining we're the biggest recipient, and on it goes about all this money that we're getting from the United States like it's a gift. And that's far from the truth. It is not a gift. America gets so much value out of that money that if Israel decided they didn't want the money anymore, America would say, no, we want you to keep taking it because it's in America's interest. And I'll explain why. If America is, most of that money has to be spent in America, by the way, keeping your workers making planes and all kinds of military equipment. We have to buy the equipment in America at much higher prices than we would have anywhere else. We are also prevented from developing our own competitive things that we could develop and capture the world market instead of America. So in a way, they're holding us from competing with them. Also, we give them so much intelligence. We have the best intelligence in the world. We train their military in so many different ways. There's a tremendous relationship between the U.S. military and the Israel military. Like, these people go back decades. They know each other well. They work well together. They have great respect. There's just a huge number of reasons why this is good business for both sides. Having said that, there are voices who say, we're taking all this flack. Let's say no to the money, liberate ourselves to go and produce planes and produce whatever America is producing that we can produce better. And we won't hurt economically as a result. We'll build our business as a result. So that's another way to look at the $3 billion.
Yeah, and that was Stuart's thesis, basically. Why doesn't Israel cut the... and you answered it. I mean, Stuart, did you hear his answer?
Yes, I did. And he answered it perfectly.
All right, and there's still, on the emotional side, particularly when you see Netanyahu come to the White House, and he's escorted out the back door. I was at 2 AIPAC meetings the past 2 years. Netanyahu, both the president and Netanyahu spoke. Netanyahu got more applause in Congress than this president ever got. He's highly popular in the United States. He went to school in Philadelphia, and we know his whole story. And on the emotional side, you say, yeah, why does he have to take this flack from America? But I'm sure he's looking at the larger picture. Netanyahu is recognizing that presidents come and go, but what you mentioned, Ted, that those long-term staff positions, the colonels and the brigade commanders and all of those, and in our work, we interface with a lot of the military, some serving and some retired. And I could sit you down with general friends of ours that spent so much time in Israel training with the Israelis, and these are a lot of special forces people.
It's a real partnership.
Yep.
That's the truth. And I'll mention one other thing that's really significant. It's considered to be foreign aid. It isn't foreign aid. It's part of the defense budget for America, and it's such a significant part of the American defense budget, but they get so much for it. And one of the senators, I forgot which one said it, that having Israel in the Mediterranean, in the center of the Arab world, is worth more than a battleship to America, because we can mobilize 500,000 troops in a matter of a week It took you 6 months to mobilize 500,000 troops to attack Iraq. We are a huge military asset to America, and there's just so it's really part of the defense budget is the point, and it's a very small percentage of American defense expenditure.
And we make that point in the United West, our sister organization, and here at Trento Vision, we make that point all the time that Israel is that America needs Israel. It's our forward operating base in the Mediterranean, in the midst of all of these people who want to kill us. And we've had experts on here that talk about the domino effect. If Israel were somehow to disappear, you would have the Shias coming out of Iran and the Sunnis coming out of Egypt and Jordan, all fighting for oil rights. It would be inflamed. If Israel wasn't there, Israel's the bulwark holding back the demonic exposure and advancement of the Islamic genie that will destroy the world, and oil will be $20 a gallon. People don't understand this. But Ted, let me ask you this. I was reading earlier that in Hebron,
Ted.
And that is that President Obama, for reasons best known to him, which have never been debated in the American Congress, like Bush's attack on Iraq, it took 6 months.
Hey Ted, I'm gonna try something here. Ted, can you?
Sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna have you call in on the radio line. We're getting a little bit of increased static from the IDF maybe listening in
right.
here. You know,
Okay, I'm going to.
you hang up, call the studio, and then we'll put you on through the studio line. Okay.
Yep.
All right, great. It's Tom Trento here, 39 minutes past the hour on TrentoVision.tv, the radio side. WNN 1470. We have our expert from Israel, Ted Bellman. He's a retired attorney from Canada. He's a Canuck. He did Aliyah. Rabbi, Aliyah, what does it mean?
To ascend.
To ascend.
To go up, because Mount Zion was on a hill, and the hill's Jerusalem.
Oh, very good. I had seen that, but I didn't know it was to ascend to Zion. Very cool. So, and that's the Hebrew translation of the term Aliyah. The concept is to go back and become a citizen there and stay there?
It precedes modern Zionism. Aliyah meant 1,000 years ago, if you were an individual Jew, there was no possibility for a state because of these empires that dominated the Middle East. But as an individual, you observed a commandment of God by living in Israel. So by leaving France or by leaving Germany or Yemen, and you really literally went up to the hills of Zion.
Okay, now, but do you now live there, or you go visit and come back?
No, you live there.
Oh, you
Aliyah means to live.
You put your
stakes down. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's from the disembodied rabbi.
He'll
Just
be
one closer to God.
I'm spiritualized.
yeah, he'll be embodied in about 20 minutes. We'll put a body on him and get him in here. You know what? We are seeing more and more of our Jewish friends
Yes, we
thinking about it and doing it.
They are, because it is something that they feel they have a need to go, because they feel that they have to go, and there's more and more draw and pulling for them to go to Israel,
especially with the world. I mean, that vote in the UN last week, that was a definitive illustration of the world turning against Israel. There's no other way to look at that. It's that simple. Oh boy! So what are we doing today? This is Tom Trento, Trento Vision, WNN 1470. We have Ted Bellman on the phone. We're going to get to him in a second from Israel. He's in Jerusalem. He's in Zion right now, reporting back to us on all of these issues. In the next hour, Rabbi Eli Kavon, who's in studio with us, will be embodied. We'll put a body on him, and we're going to continue this conversation in whole variety of ways. And then in our third hour today, we got a whole bunch of surprises for you. We dealt with the Muslim Public Affairs Council yesterday and exposed this bizarre interfaith movement in Pasadena, California on December 15th, where the Muslim Brotherhood is going into an Episcopal church to hold a conference, and they held a press conference today. Ted, what was the other thing? Oh, Judah. Okay. They held a press conference. We're going to try to get you some information on that a bit later. But let's get back to Ted Bellman. Ted, are you there?
Yes.
No, that's a lot better.
To tell you what's going on here, what Obama's policy is. As I mentioned just before we were cut off, what Bush's desire to attack Iraq was debated in Congress and Senate and the United Nations, and the whole reasons for it and whatever saw the light of day. Now, Obama started out on a path where he was embracing the Islamists from day one. It has never been debated anywhere whether that should be the case or not. Now, what is you? I think have written a book or mentioned today the alliance, the Green-Red Alliance. That's very frightening. But there's even a bigger alliance, and that is America is totally in bed with the Islamists, of which Muslim Brotherhood is one, and Qatar is another. And they're all Wahhabist, and America feels they can achieve their objectives in the Middle East and beyond by having an alliance and partnership with the Muslim Brotherhood. They are not interested in democracy. They shut out democracy in Egypt. They shut it out in Syria. That is not the game they're playing. They want to empower the Brotherhood and work with them to do all kinds of things. And meanwhile, Israel is being surrounded by the Brotherhood in Egypt, and Obama was backing Muslim Brotherhood people in the Syrian National Council. It was dominated by Brotherhood. Now the Brotherhood in Jordan is already getting close to toppling King Abdullah. We will be entirely surrounded by violent Islamists. And that's all due to Obama's policy of undermining secular monarchs, but not, or dictators, but not any Islamists. They don't get undermined. Only the seculars got undermined.
Well, it seems to be one of two solutions there,
Ted. Wait, Ted, hang on one second. Ted, we have
People
been...
don't see it from that point of view. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're here now. Okay, you're on this mic. We have been... you probably have not been following us every day, and you should, Ted, if you want to get good information. We're on 10 to 1 your time every day. We have been, we started on the air on September 3rd, specifically for
Just
2
on
months.
the internet. I can follow it on the internet.
That's right. We started, and our objective, our mission objective for 2 months, September, October, November, 3 months really, 2 months, was to alert Americans to the appeasement and accommodation policies of this administration with the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, in full understanding, the Bush administration, particularly the second 4 years, he started accommodating Muslim brothers. In fact, going back in the book that I was an author in, Sharia, the Threat to America, we lay all of this out. Starting with Bill Clinton, there was a serious infiltration of the Brotherhood. They rolled over George Bush. Then he got wise to some of it and started dealing with it. But then President Obama, because he was raised by Palestinians in a pro-Palestinian context, mentored by the two PLO representatives to the United States at Columbia University, Edward Said and Rashid Khalidi, he developed a national security policy that enhanced, embellished, and assisted the Brotherhood. We screamed for 2 months every day on this station here to awaken American voters for the sake of national security, and we came 74,000 votes short in Florida, just 1 million or so, 2 million in the U.S. But this is where we're at, and it is a frightening, and my work, both as a Christian and as a national security analyst, this stuff is looking like, apocalyptic, small a. I haven't put the big A on it yet.
I'm more worried about America than I am about Israel.
Yeah, in many respects, because we're the big Satan. We're the ones that they really want to knock out, and then they can control the world if they knock the United States out. So what a mess. Mark,
The fact that Obama has everybody on in the States is ruinous for the United States, totally aside from what the Sunnis are going to do to you. But with his economic policies, his leading from behind, he always works through others. There's no leadership here. And it's changing the America that you and I know. It'll be something we don't recognize.
Now,
It's sad.
when you talk about
Scary.
the Muslim Brotherhood, Tom and Ted, you're talking about our new peace partners in the Middle East, right? The ones
That's them. Oh, yes.
The one that Hillary Clinton called her new peace partner. And
What the Clapper
I'm just
said,
trying
the
to.
moderate seculars.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Remember Clapper's remarks?
That's right. The moderates, the same moderate secular. Because I'm getting confused here, Tom. You know, we're hearing that they're moderate secular from Clapper, and that they're new peace partners, that they're somehow reformed, they've changed. Now, is this the same Muslim Brotherhood that has Allah is our objective, the Prophet is our leader, the Quran is our law, jihad is our way, and dying in the name of Allah is our highest hope?
I think it is. I think it is.
Just because I'm getting all confused with this Muslim Brotherhood stuff. Now, you come over here in America, and when they land in LAX, they land in JFK. Do they somehow change and morph into something else and get rid of this motto and get rid of their ideology, or is it the same Muslim
Well,
Brotherhood?
let's ask. Hey, Stuart, are you still on with us or what? Or
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Stuart?
No, we lost Stuart.
No. All right. Well,
We got
what about Judah? Judah, are you there?
there?
You wanted to jump in on the conversation, Judah?
Yes.
Yes. Your thoughts.
Well, it pains me to say this, but in September of 1993, when the Israeli government signed on to the Oslo Accords, it sanitized and legitimized evil. It sanitized and legitimized the PLO, a terrorist organization. But international law says that Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, Jews have every right to settle there, that it belongs to the Jews. So my question is this: why doesn't the Israeli government not launch an offensive to dismantle the PLO and Hamas at the same time and abrogate the Oslo Accords? Because from my point of view, this is the whole world is waiting for Israel to do this. Now, let me just bear with me 1 second, including the United States. Now, the United States needs a strong ally in the Middle East. It needs, and sometimes allies disagree with each other, and it's important that Israel do this and say to the United States government, "Look, this is our national security, and this is our survival. We're not going to put our necks on the cutting block." So basically, my question to you, Ted, is why does the Israeli government not do what I said? Abrogate the Oslo Accords with launching an offensive to dismantle the PLO and the Hamas at the same time.
Sure.
And I'll await your answer on
Well,
that.
let me give you a backdrop, and most people in America don't realize this. And you put the blame on Israel because they did the stupid Oslo Accord. But it didn't start with Israel. Israel wanted to simply manage the Palestinians that remained in Judea and Samaria, now called the West Bank. They did not want to be responsible in any way for the PLO that was, at that time, in Tunisia, after they beat them up in Lebanon. And they were there. And the Americans were insisting that Israel negotiate with the PLO and involve the Palestinian diaspora and bring them back in and let them lead the country, including the refugees that presently number like 5 million. And that was American plan, American pressure. And Israel entered the Oslo Accord secretly, believing they'll cut a better deal doing it secretly than if America was brokering it, and they thought America would make the deal better for the Palestinians. Since that time, America and the UN and the European Union
have done their best to strengthen the PLO, strengthen the PA, and minimize, prevent Israel from having its way with them. And because America supported the PA, Israel, who thought that they could dictate terms, now finds the whole world against them, which was not the idea to begin with. So don't exculpate the State Department and the Europeans and the United Nations. We're the victim here. We're trying to do the best we can. But when you have 139 nations or something come out and create a state, and there's a lot of voices raised against our independence, against our right to negotiate. What America wants to do is say, okay, you got to have 67 borders with swaps. We say, no, we want to negotiate that. But when America defends our right to negotiate, they're not talking about negotiating borders. They're only talking about negotiating fine details, but America sets the parameters. We're not interested in those parameters. So there's a lot of pressure. Now, I believe with you that we should abrogate Oslo. I do not understand the reluctance of the Israeli government to abrogate it, but there are certain things that we believe in facts on the ground, and to abrogate the Oslo Agreement means nothing. What it means is building on E1 and keeping it and connecting it to Ma'ale Adumim and enlarging Jerusalem. That's facts on the ground. And we'd rather take the heat for that than the heat for canceling Oslo, which is not operative now anyways.
All right, guys, I'm going to have to jump in. We're up against the clock. This is a fascinating analysis by Ted Bellman in Israel. Judah, we thank you for your excellent question. Abrogate, that's a big word. What does abrogate? Anybody know what abrogate means? Anybody, you? What does that mean?
Absolve or something like
Get rid of, dissolve, erase, make believe it's not there. Yeah, abrogate Oslo.
Cancel it. That means to cancel it.
Yeah. I want to get into Oslo. You know anything about Oslo?
Yeah.
And in the next hour, we'll do that. But, Ted, we're going to have to say goodbye to you right now. We appreciate you taking the time late at night. It's almost 11 o'clock in Israel. I guess it's time to go to dinner in Israel, right? Everybody goes out at 10, 11 o'clock. And
No, this is Shabbat. We're into Shabbat already.
Oh, okay. That's right. You are. That's right. You're ahead of us there. We were over there in February with Mark Kohlberg on an intelligence tour. And, 10, 11 o'clock, we're sitting on the Mediterranean, having a drink, enjoying life. It was beautiful. Ted, thank you very much.
Sure.
We'll be in touch. We'll do this weekly. We'll have you do a weekly update. This is Tom Trento. TrentoVision.tv on the radio side, WNN 1470. We're going to be back in just a couple of minutes, folks.